I received my termination notice through email at 6 in the morning while monitoring critical system alerts that could have cost our clients millions. 9 years of flawless service maintaining a trading platform that processed $500 million daily without a single failure, and Diana Walsh, our new CEO, decided to fire me over a LinkedIn post where my vintage laptop sticker reading "Experience Matters" was visible in the background photo. Her exact words during our brief phone call still echo in my mind. "Your outdated mentality represents old guard resistance to innovation, Leslie. We need fresh perspectives." The irony wasn't lost on me that she terminated the architect who built the very system generating her executive bonuses, all because she perceived my dedication to proven methods as a threat to her modernization agenda. Looking back at my career, I realized the warning signs were there long before Diana arrived. In 2015, when I was just 23 years old and fresh out of Carnegie Mellon with a computer science degree, Meridian Financial was hemorrhaging money from their antiquated trading system. The previous platform had crashed spectacularly during a market surge, freezing transactions for 6 hours and costing $12 million in losses and regulatory penalties. Senior management was desperate for someone willing to work around the clock, rebuilding everything from scratch. That someone was me. I spent 18 months designing every line of code, every redundancy protocol, every fail-safe mechanism that would become the backbone of Meridian's operations. While my college friends were enjoying weekend parties and casual dating, I lived in the office surviving on energy drinks and determination. I missed my sister's wedding because of a critical security patch. I skipped Thanksgiving dinner 3 years running to monitor system upgrades during low-volume trading periods. The architecture I created was beautiful in its complexity and reliability. Multiple backup servers distributed across different geographic regions ensured that if one location experienced power outages or network failures, transactions would seamlessly continue through alternate pathways. Real-time monitoring systems I programmed could detect anomalies within milliseconds and automatically implement corrective measures before human operators even realized problems existed. Tommy Rodriguez became my first intern in 2016, an eager computer science student from University of Texas who reminded me of my younger self. Unlike many interns who viewed their positions as resume padding, Tommy genuinely wanted to learn the intricacies of financial technology. I taught him how to read system logs, interpret error patterns, and understand the delicate balance between speed and security that kept millions of dollars flowing smoothly through our networks every day. Sarah Martinez joined our compliance department in 2017, bringing a legal background that perfectly complemented my technical expertise. While I focused on ensuring our systems could handle massive transaction volumes without breaking, Sarah made sure every feature met regulatory requirements from the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and various state authorities. We developed a friendship built on mutual respect for precision and attention to detail. Jake Williams rounded out our core team as head of cybersecurity. His paranoid approach to potential threats meshed well with my systematic methodology for preventing system failures. Jake would regularly attempt to hack our own systems, searching for vulnerabilities that malicious actors might exploit. When he found weaknesses, I would design additional security layers to protect against those specific attack vectors. Together, we created something remarkable. Our platform processed hundreds of thousands of transactions daily without ever experiencing the crashes, freezes, or data corruption that plagued our competitors. Client satisfaction scores consistently ranked in the 98th percentile, and our uptime statistics became industry benchmarks that other firms struggled to match. But success bred complacency in upper management. Board members who initially praised our technical achievements began taking our reliability for granted. When Diana Walsh joined as Chief Executive Officer in January, she brought an attitude that everything created before her arrival was automatically obsolete and needed immediate replacement. During her first company meeting, Diana announced her vision for digital transformation through disruptive innovation. She used phrases like leveraging synergistic solutions and optimizing paradigmatic frameworks that sounded impressive but meant absolutely nothing in practical terms. Her presentation included colorful graphs showing how other companies had increased profits by outsourcing technical operations to overseas contractors who worked for a fraction of American salaries. The climactic moment came when Diana revealed her plan to completely overhaul our trading platform using an external consulting firm. She claimed my legacy code was holding back progress and preventing Meridian from competing with younger, more agile financial technology companies. The irony was staggering. The woman with zero technical background was declaring that the most stable, profitable system in our company's history needed complete replacement because it wasn't trendy enough for her taste. After the meeting, Tommy approached me with obvious concern. "Leslie, did she just say they're scrapping everything we built? The system that's never failed once in 9 years." His confusion reflected my own disbelief. We had created something that actually worked, that made money that satisfied clients and regulators alike. Now it was being discarded not because of any technical shortcomings, but because Diana wanted to make her mark by changing everything her predecessor had approved. That evening, I began documenting every aspect of our platform's architecture, ostensibly for the transition handover, but really as protection against the disaster I could see coming. Something told me I would need detailed records of exactly how everything was supposed to function when Diana's grand modernization plans inevitably fell apart. Diana wasted no time implementing her vision of corporate disruption. Within 2 weeks of announcing the platform overhaul, she had signed a contract with Next Gen Solutions, a consulting firm specializing in what they called rapid digital transformation for legacy financial institutions. The firm was headed by Brad Peterson, a 26-year-old Stanford MBA who had never actually built anything, but possessed an impressive talent for creating PowerPoint presentations filled with technical buzzwords. Brad's first action was dismissing all documentation I had prepared as dinosaur thinking incompatible with modern agile development methodologies. During our single handover meeting, he spent more time explaining his philosophy of iterative deployment cycles than actually learning how our current system functioned. When I tried to explain the importance of specific redundancy protocols, he interrupted me to say that legacy mindset constraints were exactly what Next Gen Solutions was hired to eliminate. The replacement team consisted of 2 recent computer science graduates, Kevin Thompson from Georgia Tech and Amanda Jackson from University of California, San Diego. Both were undeniably intelligent and enthusiastic, but their experience was entirely theoretical. They had studied financial technology in academic settings, but never faced the pressure of maintaining live systems where every minute of downtime could cost millions of dollars. I watched them struggle with basic system queries that I could have resolved in seconds. When they encountered error messages that appeared during normal operations, they panicked and began implementing fixes that actually created new problems. Kevin spent an entire day trying to optimize a subroutine that was already performing efficiently, ultimately slowing it down by 15%. Amanda attempted to upgrade security protocols without understanding how they integrated with existing authentication systems, nearly locking out all user access. Sarah Martinez confided in me that Diana had been spreading rumors about our team's competence. According to Sarah's sources in the executive suite, Diana told board members that our platform was teetering on the edge of catastrophic failure, and that only immediate modernization could prevent massive losses. This narrative conveniently positioned Diana as the visionary leader who saved the company from technical disaster. Meanwhile, Diana scheduled a press conference to announce Meridian's revolutionary platform upgrade. She promised investors faster transaction processing, lower operational costs, and enhanced user interfaces that would attract younger, more tech-savvy clients. The presentation included impressive graphics showing projected performance improvements, all based on Next Gen Solutions' theoretical models rather than actual testing results. The climactic revelation came when I discovered Diana's complete betrayal of professional ethics. Tommy accidentally forwarded me an internal email where Diana explicitly told board members that the platform had been failing under outdated leadership and required complete reconstruction to prevent regulatory sanctions and client defections. This was an outright lie. Our system had passed every regulatory audit with flying colors and maintained client satisfaction ratings that exceeded industry standards. Diana was deliberately rewriting history to justify her predetermined decision to replace everything I had built. She wasn't responding to actual problems. She was creating imaginary crises to support her narrative of transformational leadership. The technical team she dismissed had maintained 9 years of flawless performance, but Diana needed us to be failures for her story to make sense. Even more disturbing was Diana's decision to exclude me from all transition meetings, while simultaneously taking credit for the stability I had created. In interviews with financial industry publications, she described herself as the architect of Meridian's technological success, claiming that her hands-on approach to systems development had resulted in our impressive uptime statistics. She was literally stealing credit for my work while firing me for being too old-fashioned. Jake Williams pulled me aside after a particularly frustrating encounter with Brad Peterson's team. "Leslie, they don't understand the first thing about what you built. Kevin asked me why we have backup servers in different time zones, like he's never heard of disaster recovery planning. Amanda wanted to know if we really need all those security layers because they slow down her development process. This is going to be a complete disaster." That night, I made a decision that would change everything. While ostensibly preparing transition documentation, I secretly copied all critical system passwords and access codes to secure external drives. I told myself this was necessary to ensure business continuity during the chaotic handover. But deep down, I knew I was preparing for the inevitable moment when Diana's incompetence would threaten not just my reputation, but the financial security of thousands of clients who trusted Meridian with their investments. The writing was on the wall. Diana had constructed a narrative where I was the problem and she was the solution. My 9 years of flawless service meant nothing compared to her need to establish herself as a transformational leader. If she wanted to destroy everything I had built to prove her worth, I would make sure she faced the full consequences of that decision. 2 weeks after my termination, the first cracks began appearing in Diana's carefully constructed facade. Tommy called me on a Thursday evening, his voice filled with barely contained panic. "Leslie, we're seeing error messages that I've never encountered before. Kevin and Amanda tried to patch what they thought was a minor bug in the transaction logging system, but now the audit trails aren't matching up with the actual trades. The compliance team is freaking out because they can't verify that transactions are being processed according to regulatory requirements." The problem stemmed from Next-Gen Solutions' fundamental misunderstanding of how our architecture balanced speed with accuracy. The logging system wasn't just recording transactions for historical purposes. It was actively validating each trade against multiple criteria, including account balances, trading limits, and regulatory restrictions. Kevin and Amanda had treated it like a simple database update without realizing they were disabling critical safety mechanisms that prevented illegal or erroneous trades from being processed. Sarah Martinez reached out through encrypted messaging, describing mounting chaos within the technical operations department. Brad Peterson keeps telling management that these are normal growing pains associated with modernization, but I'm seeing system behavior that never occurred during your 9 years here. Yesterday, the platform processed a transaction that should have been blocked because it exceeded the client's authorized trading limit. We caught it during manual reconciliation, but imagine if we hadn't. The irony was bitter. Diana had fired me for representing outdated thinking, yet every day my absence became more apparent as new problems emerged from the team's attempts to improve what they didn't understand. I felt a complex mixture of vindication and genuine concern for innocent clients whose financial security was being jeopardized by Diana's ego-driven decision-making. Jake Williams provided the most alarming intelligence. During a routine security audit, he discovered that Amanda had accidentally disabled several fraud detection algorithms while attempting to streamline what she perceived as redundant processes. Leslie, she thought the multiple verification steps were just bureaucratic inefficiency. She didn't realize that each layer catches different types of suspicious activity. We're essentially flying blind now in terms of detecting potentially fraudulent transactions. The climactic disaster struck on a Monday morning when Thornfield Capital, one of our largest institutional clients managing over $300 million in assets, experienced significant delays in their automated trading algorithms. Their high-frequency trading systems depended on millisecond response times from our platform, but Kevin's optimization efforts had actually introduced latency issues that made their strategies unworkable. Thornfield's chief technology officer, Patricia Chen, contacted Diana directly to express concerns about platform reliability. According to Sarah's sources, Patricia threatened to move all of Thornfield's business to our competitors unless processing speeds returned to previous levels immediately. This represented not just lost revenue, but a public relations disaster since Thornfield's departure would signal to other institutional clients that Meridian's technical capabilities were declining. Diana's response was predictably dishonest. She blamed the problems on residual code issues left over from the previous technical administration, implying that I had somehow sabotaged the system before leaving. She promised Patricia that Next Gen Solutions would resolve all performance issues within 48 hours, a timeline that anyone with actual technical knowledge would recognize as completely unrealistic. Brad Peterson's team attempted emergency repairs without understanding the underlying cause of the latency problems. In their desperation to meet Diana's impossible deadline, they made changes to core processing algorithms that had been carefully calibrated through years of testing and refinement. Amanda accidentally corrupted one of the backup databases while trying to restore what she thought was damaged data, eliminating safety nets that I had maintained through meticulous regular maintenance. Kevin's fix for the transaction processing delays involved bypassing several validation steps that he assumed were causing bottlenecks. In reality, those steps were performing essential error checking that prevented data corruption and ensured regulatory compliance. His solution temporarily improved processing speed, but at the cost of system integrity that would become apparent only when larger problems emerged. The most devastating revelation came when Tommy discovered that Brad Peterson had been deleting error logs to hide the growing list of system failures from management. Instead of addressing underlying problems, Next Gen Solutions was simply concealing evidence that their modernization efforts were causing more harm than good. This cover-up mentality guaranteed that small issues would escalate into major crises without anyone taking corrective action. That Friday evening, I received a desperate call from Tommy that changed everything. "Leslie, I need your help and I'm begging you to consider it, even though I know Diana treated you terribly. We're facing problems that are beyond our ability to solve, and I'm genuinely worried that we're going to lose client money if something isn't fixed soon. Kevin and Amanda are good people, but they're in over their heads with systems they don't understand." The ethical dilemma was agonizing. Every instinct told me to let Diana face the consequences of her poor decisions, but innocent clients and dedicated colleagues like Tommy would suffer alongside her. I realized that my technical knowledge was literally the only thing standing between a manageable situation and complete catastrophe that could destroy careers and life savings belonging to people who had done nothing wrong except trust Meridian with their financial futures. Against my better judgment, I agreed to provide limited technical guidance to prevent genuine client harm. Working through Tommy as an intermediary, I helped diagnose the most critical system problems and suggested temporary solutions that would stabilize operations until more permanent fixes could be implemented. My involvement was strictly unofficial, motivated by professional ethics, rather than any desire to help Diana succeed. However, my good intentions were about to be twisted into something far more sinister. Through Sarah's continued intelligence gathering, I learned that Diana had been telling board members an increasingly elaborate story about my departure and its aftermath. According to Diana's version of events, I had deliberately sabotaged multiple systems before leaving and planted logic bombs designed to cause failures at predetermined intervals. This narrative served multiple purposes for Diana. It explained why problems emerged after my termination, deflected responsibility for Next Gen Solutions' incompetence, and positioned her as a victim of my supposed vindictive behavior. She claimed that my willingness to provide unofficial technical support actually proved my guilt, since I possessed knowledge of sabotage mechanisms that I had installed specifically to make her modernization efforts fail. The accusations were sophisticated in their maliciousness. Diana told board members that experienced technical employees often engaged in this type of corporate sabotage when they felt threatened by organizational changes. She cited fictitious industry studies showing that terminated IT workers frequently attempted to make their replacements look incompetent by creating hidden system vulnerabilities that would activate after their departure. Sarah managed to access recordings of Diana's presentations to the board, and the level of deception was breathtaking. Diana had prepared detailed timelines showing how system problems correlated with my termination date, implying causation rather than coincidence. She displayed charts comparing our platform's historical reliability with recent performance issues, but conveniently omitted any mention of next-gen solutions modifications or the replacement team's inexperience. Most disturbingly, Diana was using my unofficial technical support as evidence against me. She claimed that my ability to quickly identify solutions proved I had prior knowledge of the problems, which could only be explained by deliberate sabotage. The fact that someone with 9 years of experience could troubleshoot systems faster than recent graduates was apparently suspicious rather than logical. The climactic escalation came when Diana filed a police report accusing me of corporate sabotage and cyberterrorism. She provided law enforcement with edited internal communications, selective system logs, and sworn statements from Brad Peterson, alleging that I had threatened to make them pay for modernizing my legacy code. These documents painted a picture of a disgruntled former employee seeking revenge through technological warfare. FBI Cybercrime Division agents contacted me for questioning on a Tuesday morning that started like any other day. Agent Robert Kim explained that they were investigating allegations of computer fraud and abuse in connection with trading platform disruptions at Meridian Financial. He informed me that federal computer crime statutes carried potential sentences of up to 10 years in prison and hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. The irony was staggering. While law enforcement was investigating me for fictional crimes, Diana was simultaneously telling financial industry publications that our platform upgrade was proceeding ahead of schedule and performing better than ever. Her public relations campaign described seamless integration of next-generation trading technologies and enhanced security protocols delivering unprecedented reliability. These contradictory narratives revealed Diana's complete detachment from reality. Internally, she was claiming that I had sabotaged critical systems and planted cyber weapons designed to cause maximum damage. Externally, she was boasting about the superior performance of those same systems under her visionary leadership. The woman couldn't even keep her lies consistent across different audiences. Agent Kim's questions focused on my access to system passwords and technical documentation after my termination. Diana had apparently told investigators that I possessed unauthorized copies of sensitive information that could be used to remotely access Meridian's networks. While this was technically true, my motivation was ensuring business continuity rather than enabling criminal activity. The FBI interview lasted 3 hours and covered every aspect of my employment history, technical capabilities, and personal relationship with Diana Walsh. Agent Kim was professional but thorough, clearly taking the allegations seriously, despite their obvious flaws. He informed me that the investigation could take several months and advised me to retain legal counsel immediately. That evening, I realized that passive resistance would not be sufficient against someone willing to destroy my reputation and freedom to protect her own career. Diana had transformed our professional disagreement into a criminal matter with potential life-changing consequences. She was using the full power of federal law enforcement as a weapon against me for the crime of being competent at my job. The transformation was complete. I was no longer a terminated employee seeking vindication. I was now a target of criminal investigation fighting for my personal survival. Diana's willingness to fabricate evidence and manipulate law enforcement proved that she would stop at nothing to avoid accountability for her own failures. If she wanted to play by those rules, I would make sure she faced the full consequences of her choices. But first, I needed to protect myself legally and financially against someone who had already demonstrated complete disregard for truth ethics and the welfare of innocent people. My first priority was securing competent legal representation to navigate the federal investigation Diana had orchestrated through her false accusations. Patricia Reynolds, a former federal prosecutor specializing in white-collar cybercrime defense, agreed to represent me after reviewing the evidence Diana had provided to law enforcement. Patricia's assessment was blunt. This is either the most sophisticated act of corporate sabotage in cybercrime history, or someone is lying extensively to cover their own incompetence. Patricia began systematically documenting Diana's false statements to both investigators and media outlets. We discovered a pattern of deliberately misleading claims that extended far beyond my specific situation. Diana had made similar accusations against technical employees at her previous companies, always blaming system failures on sabotage by disgruntled former staff rather than acknowledging management failures. Through industry contacts, Patricia connected me with former colleagues from Diana's previous positions at other financial firms. The stories were remarkably consistent. Diana would arrive promising revolutionary improvements, fire experienced technical staff for being resistant to innovation, then blame subsequent problems on sabotage by terminated employees. She had used this playbook successfully at 3 previous companies before joining Meridian. David Park, formerly a senior systems administrator at Diana's previous company, described an almost identical scenario. She fired half our IT department for having legacy mindset limitations, then spent 6 months claiming we had planted malware to make her look bad. The truth was that her replacement contractors couldn't figure out how our custom applications worked, but admitting that would have meant acknowledging she made a mistake. Meanwhile, at Meridian Platform, problems were escalating beyond Next-Gen Solutions' ability to contain or conceal them. Tommy continued providing me with insider information about mounting technical failures that Brad Peterson's team was desperately trying to fix without understanding root causes. Kevin had accidentally disabled automated backup processes while attempting to improve storage efficiency, leaving the platform vulnerable to data loss if any hardware failures occurred. Amanda's security modifications had inadvertently created vulnerabilities that Jake Williams discovered during routine penetration testing. Her streamlined authentication protocols made it easier for legitimate users to access their accounts, but also made it easier for potential attackers to exploit weak passwords or stolen credentials. Jake's reports to management were being suppressed by Brad Peterson, who claimed that security concerns were implementation details that would be addressed after core functionality improvements were completed. The climactic revelation came when Diana made a desperate attempt to salvage her deteriorating situation through direct manipulation. She contacted me personally, abandoning all pretense of professional courtesy or legal propriety. Her tone during our phone conversation was a strange mixture of arrogance and panic as she explained that I could make all legal troubles disappear by agreeing to return as a consultant to smooth the transition process. Diana's offer was surprisingly generous, a contractor position paying double my former salary, full retroactive reinstatement of benefits, a public apology for my termination, and her personal guarantee that all criminal allegations would be dropped. In exchange, I would need to sign agreements accepting responsibility for any legacy system limitations and acknowledging that platform problems were inevitable consequences of outdated architecture requiring modernization. When I refused her offer, Diana's mask of professional composure completely slipped. She became increasingly frantic, explaining that board members were losing confidence in her leadership and threatening to terminate her employment if system stability wasn't restored immediately. She needed me to return, not because she valued my expertise, but because she was facing the same type of career destruction she had inflicted on me. The conversation took a sinister turn when Diana revealed she had been recording our interactions and threatened to edit them to support her sabotage allegations. She claimed she could manipulate audio recordings to make it appear that I had demanded ransom payments for fixing systems I had allegedly damaged. Her willingness to fabricate evidence for criminal prosecution demonstrated complete moral bankruptcy in service of self-preservation. During this same period, Diana was privately negotiating with Next-Gen Solutions to extend their contract despite mounting evidence of their incompetence. Brad Peterson had convinced her that platform problems were temporary growing pains that additional consulting fees could resolve. Their mutual interest in avoiding accountability created a conspiracy to blame all technical failures on my supposed sabotage rather than admitting their shared responsibility for creating those failures. Sarah Martinez risked her own career by secretly providing me with internal communications that proved Diana's deception. Email exchanges between Diana and Brad Peterson showed them explicitly coordinating their stories about my alleged criminal behavior while acknowledging privately that their own decisions had caused most system problems. These communications would become crucial evidence of conspiracy to file false police reports. The most damaging evidence came from Diana's communications with board members, where she alternately claimed credit for system improvements and blamed me for system failures, depending on which narrative served her immediate needs. When performance metrics showed positive results, She described them as proof of her successful modernization efforts. When the same metrics showed problems, she attributed them to malicious code I had supposedly planted before my termination. Patricia Reynolds recognized that Diana's desperation was making her increasingly reckless with evidence manipulation and false statements. "She's committing new crimes trying to cover up her original lies," Patricia explained. "Every recorded conversation, every email to investigators, every public statement is creating additional evidence of criminal behavior that goes far beyond the original workplace dispute." As Meridian's technical problems continued escalating, Diana's window for plausible deniability was rapidly closing. Industry observers were beginning to question how a platform with 9 years of flawless performance could suddenly experience multiple simultaneous failures unless something fundamental had changed in its management or maintenance. I realized that my best strategy was allowing natural consequences to unfold while ensuring that my own innocence was thoroughly documented. Diana had created an elaborate web of lies to explain away her incompetence, but lies require constant maintenance and eventually collapse under their own complexity. All I needed to do was survive long enough for reality to expose the truth she was desperately trying to conceal. The inevitable catastrophic failure occurred on a Wednesday morning during peak trading hours when institutional investors were processing the largest volume of transactions. Without warning, the entire platform froze, leaving $500 million worth of trades suspended in digital limbo across multiple markets. The crisis that Diana had been desperately trying to prevent through cover-ups and false accusations had finally materialized in the worst possible way. Tommy called me within minutes of the system lockup, his voice barely controlled panic. "Leslie, everything is down. Complete platform failure across all trading environments. Kevin and Amanda are running around like they're on fire. Brad Peterson is screaming at everyone to fix it immediately, and Diana is demanding answers that nobody can provide. They need you back here right now, but I don't think anyone is willing to admit that publicly." The technical cause of the failure was a cascading series of errors that began with Amanda's security modifications and escalated through Kevin's performance optimizations. Their changes had created an unstable foundation that could handle normal operations, but collapsed under heavy transaction loads. The automated monitoring systems I had designed to prevent exactly this type of failure had been disabled by next-gen solutions as unnecessary legacy processes. Within 30 minutes, financial news outlets were reporting Meridian's trading platform outage as a major market disruption. Client companies whose automated trading algorithms depended on continuous platform availability were experiencing significant losses as their investment strategies were frozen mid-execution. Regulatory authorities from the Securities and Exchange Commission and Commodity Futures Trading Commission were already demanding explanations for the systemic failure. Sarah Martinez provided real-time intelligence from emergency meetings where Diana's carefully constructed narratives were completely falling apart. Board members who had supported her modernization initiatives based on her claims of superior technical leadership were now questioning how someone with her expertise could have allowed such a catastrophic failure to occur. Diana's response to the crisis revealed the complete intellectual bankruptcy of her leadership approach. Instead of acknowledging that next-gen solutions had caused the problems through incompetent modifications, she doubled down on her sabotage allegations against me. She told emergency board meetings that this failure proved her warnings about my malicious code had been accurate and that only immediate FBI intervention could prevent further attacks on their systems. Brad Peterson's team admitted privately to Tommy that they could not restore platform functionality without access to the original architectural documentation I had created. They had spent 2 months making changes without understanding how different system components interacted with each other, and now they were facing problems that required knowledge they simply did not possess. The climactic moment of complete professional humiliation came when Diana was forced to contact me directly during a board meeting with directors listening to her conversation on speakerphone. Her earlier arrogance had been replaced by barely concealed desperation as she offered me anything I wanted, including her own resignation, if I would restore platform operations immediately. "Leslie, I know we've had our differences, but our clients are losing money every minute this system stays down," Diana said, her voice shaking with stress. "Whatever you want, salary, equity, executive position, complete control over technical operations, I'll make it happen today if you can get us back online." My response was simple and devastating. Diana, you fired me for being too old-fashioned to understand modern technology. You told everyone that my legacy code was holding back progress and that next-gen solutions could build something better. If that was true, why are you calling me to fix problems that your superior team should be able to handle easily? The silence from the boardroom was deafening. Diana had spent months positioning herself as the visionary leader who saved Meridian from my supposed technical incompetence, and now she was publicly begging me to rescue her from the consequences of her own decisions. Every board member could hear the contradiction between her previous claims and her current desperation. When I refused to provide immediate assistance, Diana revealed the full extent of her moral corruption by threatening to edit our recorded conversations to manufacture evidence against me. I have recordings of everything you've said. Leslie and I can make them show whatever narrative serves justice. You're demanding ransom to fix systems you broke, and that proves you're guilty of everything I've accused you of doing. This threat was made during a live board meeting with multiple witnesses, creating evidence of criminal conspiracy that would be impossible for Diana to deny or explain away. She was threatening to manufacture false evidence for federal investigators, while company directors listened to every word, demonstrating complete disregard for legal and ethical boundaries. Jake Williams later described the boardroom atmosphere during Diana's meltdown. She went from confident executive to complete panic mode in about 10 minutes. When Leslie refused to help, Diana started threatening to frame her for crimes that everyone knew she didn't commit. Board members were looking at each other like they couldn't believe what they were hearing. Platform downtime extended into Thursday, as next-gen solutions proved completely incapable of restoring functionality without my technical knowledge. Client losses mounted into millions of dollars as high-frequency trading firms, hedge funds, and institutional investors moved their business to Meridian's competitors. The company's reputation for reliability, built over 9 years of flawless performance under my maintenance, was being destroyed in real time by Diana's leadership decisions. Financial industry publications that had previously praised Diana's modernization efforts were now questioning how such a stable platform could experience complete failure so quickly after personnel changes. Some analysts were beginning to suggest that Meridian's technical problems might reflect broader competence issues in executive leadership rather than isolated system malfunctions. By Thursday evening, the platform had been frozen for over 30 hours, with no realistic timeline for restoration. Diana's promise to investors about seamless technological upgrades had become a public embarrassment that threatened the company's entire market position. Her board presentation claiming superior performance under her leadership now looked like either deliberate deception or complete incompetence. The final devastating blow came when Tommy confirmed that Diana and Brad Peterson had been destroying evidence of their decision-making process while blaming continuing problems on my supposed sabotage. They were actively committing new crimes to cover up their original mistakes, creating additional legal liabilities that would eventually expose the entire conspiracy. I realized that Diana's attempt to destroy my career had instead revealed the complete hollowness of her own professional competence. Her platform modernization had achieved the opposite of every promised improvement: worse performance, reduced reliability, higher costs, and regulatory scrutiny that threatened Meridian's operating licenses. The woman who had fired me for representing outdated thinking was now facing the complete collapse of everything she claimed to understand about modern technology. Her 9-year streak of perfect platform performance was ending with the most catastrophic failure in company history, all because she valued buzzwords over expertise and self-promotion over genuine competence. The FBI investigation that Diana had weaponized against me became the instrument of her own destruction when agents discovered evidence of her false statements and conspiracy to manufacture evidence. Agent Robert Kim contacted Patricia Reynolds to inform us that their cybercrime analysis had found no trace of sabotage or malicious code in Meridian systems, but had uncovered extensive evidence of filing false police reports and obstruction of justice. Diana's edited recordings, which she had threatened to use as evidence against me, were examined by federal forensics experts who easily detected the digital manipulation. Her attempts to create false evidence constituted additional felony charges that carried more severe penalties than the original accusations she had fabricated. The woman who thought she could manipulate law enforcement to eliminate professional opposition had instead created a federal case against herself. Meanwhile, Meridian's board of directors voted unanimously for Diana's immediate termination after reviewing the complete record of her deception, incompetence, and criminal behavior. The platform failure had cost the company over $40 million in client losses, regulatory fines, and emergency consulting fees, while destroying relationships with institutional investors that had taken years to develop. Board Chairman William Harrison called me personally to offer a formal apology for Diana's treatment and extend an invitation to return as Chief Technology Officer with complete autonomy over all technical operations. The compensation package included salary increase of 60% substantial equity stake and contractual guarantees that no future management changes could affect my technical authority without board approval. However, I declined their generous offer because competing firms had been closely watching Meridian's technical crisis and recognized the value of proven expertise over trendy management philosophies. Apex Financial, one of Meridian's largest competitors, offered me a position as Chief Technology Officer with even better compensation and the opportunity to build next-generation trading systems from scratch using lessons learned from 9 years of maintaining flawless performance. The poetic justice was remarkable. Diana's attempt to replace me with cheaper, less experienced alternatives had actually increased my market value by demonstrating the irreplaceable nature of deep technical knowledge. Her public claims about my obsolete skills had been disproven so dramatically that headhunters from across the financial industry were competing to recruit me. 3 months after the platform collapse, federal prosecutors charged Diana with filing false police reports, conspiracy to obstruct justice, securities fraud for lying to investors about platform stability, and computer fraud for attempting to manipulate evidence. Her legal troubles extended beyond criminal charges to include civil lawsuits from clients who had lost money during the system failure she had caused through incompetent leadership. NextGen Solutions faced their own legal consequences when clients discovered that Brad Peterson's team had been billing for system improvements while actually degrading performance and security. Several companies that had hired NextGen based on their work at Meridian were now pursuing lawsuits for breach of contract and professional negligence. The original platform I had built remained frozen for over 4 months, while Meridian hired expensive emergency consultants to reverse the changes that NextGen Solutions had implemented. Even with my detailed architectural documentation restoring stability required extensive testing to ensure that none of Kevin and Amanda's modifications had corrupted core functionality. At Apex Financial, I assembled a team of experienced developers who shared my commitment to reliability over flashy innovation. We designed and implemented a new trading platform that incorporated advanced technologies while maintaining the rigorous testing and validation processes that had made my previous work so successful. Within 18 months, our platform was processing over $1 billion in daily transactions with perfect uptime statistics. The industry transformation was profound. Diana's spectacular failure had demonstrated the dangers of prioritizing management buzzwords over technical expertise, leading multiple financial firms to reconsider their approaches to technology leadership. Several companies reached out to me for consulting advice about avoiding similar disasters in their own modernization efforts. My vintage laptop sticker reading "Experience Matters" became somewhat legendary in financial technology circles. Younger developers began displaying similar messages as symbols of respect for proven knowledge and systematic methodology over trendy but unproven approaches. The sticker that Diana had cited as evidence of my obsolete thinking became a rallying point for valuing competence over corporate politics. Tommy Rodriguez joined my team at Apex after completing his computer science degree, bringing enthusiasm for innovation, balanced with respect for tested principles. Sarah Martinez also made the transition, applying her compliance expertise to ensure that our new platform exceeded all regulatory requirements from its initial deployment. Even Jake Williams eventually joined us, designing security systems that incorporated latest threat detection technologies while maintaining the paranoid attention to detail that had protected our previous platform. Diana's fate served as a cautionary tale throughout the financial industry. Her criminal conviction resulted in 3 years in federal prison and lifetime prohibition from working in regulated financial services. The company she had claimed to modernize ultimately declared bankruptcy and sold its assets to competitors, with many former clients transferring their business to platforms like ours that prioritized reliability over revolutionary promises. The life lesson was profound and personally transformative. Professional integrity and technical excellence ultimately triumph over corporate politics and manipulative leadership, but only if you maintain ethical standards while defending yourself against people who have abandoned theirs. Fighting back through competence and documentation proved more powerful than any direct confrontation could have achieved. I established a mentorship program at Apex specifically focused on supporting experienced women in technology who faced age discrimination or gender bias in their careers. The program provided both professional development opportunities and legal resources for employees facing workplace retaliation for their expertise or advocacy for proven methodologies. The most satisfying outcome was watching my protégés develop their own technical expertise while learning to value substance over style in their professional development. They understood that true innovation builds upon proven foundations rather than discarding everything that came before, and that experienced practitioners possess knowledge that cannot be replicated through academic study alone. 2 years later, Diana's former platform was still struggling with reliability issues that my original architecture had never experienced. Meridian's new technical team, working with the architectural documentation I had provided, eventually stabilized operations, but never achieved the performance levels that had been standard during my tenure. The company's reputation never fully recovered from the public failure of Diana's leadership. Meanwhile, Apex Financial's platform became the industry standard for reliability and performance processing transactions for clients who valued proven competence over marketing promises. Our success demonstrated that experience, systematic methodology, and attention to detail remain essential qualities in any technology-dependent business, regardless of current management trends. The woman who had dismissed me as old guard resistance to innovation was now serving a federal prison sentence while I was building next-generation systems that incorporated the best aspects of proven reliability and genuine technological advancement. Her attempt to destroy my career had instead validated everything I believed about the importance of expertise, integrity, and professional dedication. Have you ever experienced workplace situations where someone in authority dismissed your expertise or knowledge simply because it didn't align with their preferred narrative or management style? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below about standing up for professional principles or dealing with leaders who prioritized politics over competence. Please like this video if it resonated with your own experiences with corporate dynamics. Subscribe for more stories about professional challenges and personal growth, and share this with anyone who might benefit from understanding how technical expertise and ethical behavior can ultimately prevail over manipulation and corporate politics. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it inspires you to trust in your own professional knowledge and stand firm in your principles, even when facing seemingly impossible odds.